that was quite an introduction. I'm not going to scare anybody off. I don't want Google to scare you off. Let's start with a small quiz. How do you think, what is more popular in the past 12 months? French fries or donuts? Who thinks it's donuts? Please raise your hands. Yes, you are right. Donuts were winning on Google all around the world, 52 to 45. Now, Pokemon Go or soccer, or what actually we call football. What was winning in the past 12 months? Remember, there was the game, but there were also the games. So who thinks more people were searching for Pokemon Go on Google? And you are wrong. We're still fine, and we're still searching more for soccer. It's soccer because I was checking it on American trends, but of course it's football. When it comes to American football, that one is losing it to Pokemon Go. Now something more serious. Is it weddings or divorces in the past 12 months? What was most popular? Who thinks those were weddings? Jesus, so many pessimists in here. No, weddings were winning absolutely last year. So no worries, everything is still fine with us, unless you live in this romantic country with this very romantic capital called Paris. And in France, it's totally different. So in France, most of the people were searching for divorces. Let me give you a couple of numbers. Those are the numbers. So every day on Google, there are 3 billion searches a day. Over 432,000 new materials are uploaded to YouTube every day. So you sit there in front of the computer, you search for information, you want to know more, people want to know more about the current affairs or the things that are happening all around them or the things they are missing. But at the same time, they leave quite a lot of information, as we were saying, about themselves, but also the societies they live in. And therefore, I'd like to discuss that a bit more. Let's go back to France. So this is what it looked like in France last year, past 12 months. As you can see, there is a huge peak. And can you guess what happened there? Why people search for divorces so much in France? Somewhere in September. Well, Angelina Jolie announced she's divorcing Brad. But still, it doesn't tell us why the French people are searching. It doesn't matter whether it's the divorce or not of the celebrities. People in France are generally looking for divorces a lot more than for the weddings. So I don't know what's the story behind there, but I think there is a story to dig into deeper. But not to leave you depressed about France, it all depends on how you choose the data to compare. Well, we're talking quite a lot about data here, so just an example, but it all depends what kind of indicators you choose. So that was wedding and divorce, but if you add love to that, then French people were mainly searching for love. Of course, I cannot say why, but that could be dig into even more. So those are like the basic things you can know about the word. Now, the question is, the next one. Also, it's good to remember that Google and any search engine is actually a place where people come to ask questions they usually don't ask loud. They come to check things that they do not ask loud, or they don't talk to their friends, parents, doctors, and so on. So this is just one of the examples of how the word searched for Charlie Sheen, but also for AIDS and HIV, just after Charlie Sheen announced that he's HIV positive. As you can see, there's some quote from the San Diego State University. So during the coming out of Charlie Sheen, that was the highest number of searches ever recorded for people searching for HIV. But why I put that slide in here is also to show you that people are actually what they're searching for is quite important to pay attention to. Because what you can see is that when people stopped searching for Charlie Sheen, the slide down below is from Poland. When they stopped searching for Charlie Sheen, they kept on searching for HIV and AIDS. So this is the place where they come to sometimes ask embarrassing questions, sometimes ask the kind of questions they would not go to a doctor to ask. So this is what, if you're working with data, if you need data to support your stories with, this might be a cool place to go to, the Google Trends data. Here's one example I also wanted to tell you. This is how I wanted to check once a story about, I read this story, this will be an embarrassing story from my life, when I didn't trust the media. We're talking a lot about trust in media here. But there was this story in one of Polish newspapers about how Polish kids are afraid to talk to their, Polish girls are afraid to talk to their mothers about periods. So that it's like a taboo still, that little girls do not tell their moms that they got a period. And I was like, it's 21st century, is it really like this? And then I went to check things on Google, and that's what you can see. So in the past 7 days, when you start a query in Polish, how to tell, so jak powiedzieć, and you end up with parents, the people asking Google are how to tell parents about pregnancy. If you check in there how to tell mom, they're asking Google that I have a period. And it's not 5 people, it's much more, because we can see a trend happening in there. If it's a question of how to tell dad, nothing pop-ups there. So the question is whether we don't talk to dads or we just simply know how to talk to dads and we don't need to ask Google about that. So if you think Poland is a strange country with little girls being scared to talk to their mothers, then I'm sorry to say, but it's international. This is the United States past 7 days, how to tell parents you're pregnant, how to tell mom you got your period, how to tell dad you have a boyfriend. Same goes with Russia, how to tell parents about pregnancy, how to tell mom that you have a period, and how to tell dad, nothing is there. So you can see that this says a lot about the word. It's just a search engine, it's just to say a place where kids come to ask questions, but probably we should draw some conclusions from in there. Now, who knows what is a pangolin? What is it? Exactly. And can you imagine that except for Valentine's Day, this was the most searched query past week in Poland? This is the pangolin, and it's only because he was in one of TV shows. And what happens afterwards, people go online and search. So this was just like funny part. But let's go further. It's not only the place, the search engine, whatever search engine it is, people don't only come to ask questions about the things they don't know and things they're scared to talk about. They also come and verify their attitudes. So here's a short story that we did on migration. Those are the places that in 2016 were mainly searching for queries migration to. And it was Jamaica, United States, Ghana, and so on. But I didn't find it interesting enough, because if you search for the query migration to, that could be scientific. But then I decided to check how people in Poland are searching for queries like emigrate to. How do you think, what was the main query people were, what country were they mainly searching for emigrate to? Germany, US, UK. No, it was actually Canada, New Zealand, Australia. All the top 5 countries were very far away. And I myself started wondering why. And then I discovered, which is, I absolutely think it's super interesting for me, that actually when they're searching for the United Kingdom, where lots of Polish people migrated to, or Norway or Germany, they're searching for move to. So emigration is something distant. European Union nowadays, or close countries for us, are like moving to a different city. We no longer think of it as emigration, but just moving to a different place. Some other attitudes. Most popular questions on terrorism. You can see Poland, Germany, Russia, USA, and Japan in 2016 had the same question, simply what is terrorism? But Italy wanted to know how to fight terrorism, and France and Great Britain were about why is France targeted by the terrorists. I also like the Iceland question, a small country asking how to avoid terrorism. The next slide I want to show you, however, is even more interesting. I'm just sorry it will all pop up in one time, because if it was showing one by one, everyone would be laughing at one point. But anyway, so those are the questions about the refugees. So 2016, another year of refugee crisis. And we checked with Gazeta Prawna, a Polish daily, what kind of questions people are asking to Google. So the main question in a couple of countries was who or what is a refugee? Whereas Germany, which has the largest number of migrants coming nowadays, was asking how many refugees are there in France. Czech Republic was about how do refugees flee, and France, how to help the refugees. For me, it was already very interesting because in Poland you could read a lot about the Calais migrant crisis, about all the problems, terrorist attacks, but still the French people were mainly asking in French how to help refugees. Russia is a bit different than anyone else, and they were mainly asking how to receive a refugee status. And Poland is super interesting. Poland was asking, are there refugees in Crete? So this is just one of questions, but I can tell you 5 of the most popular questions in Poland. That was, are there refugees in Crete? Will Poland take the refugees? Are there refugees in Rhodos Island? Are there refugees in Zakynthos Island? And are there refugees in Greece? So I think, like, even with this simple slide, I hope you see a story. So the French were mainly asking how to help the refugees, and the Polish people most probably wanted to know where not to go for a holiday because the refugees are already there. So again, this is just a search engine, but that kind of data can be very, very supportive to your stories. I just stopped by for a second with this question thing. This is also very interesting if you're working on the stories, especially for young people. The way they search online is changing a lot. More and more of them are asking questions. It's mainly because they use their mobile search, and thus they start interaction with their phones and browsers. So that's why we see more and more questions coming up there. Now some more, the search engine also can tell you how people react to current affairs, and sometimes it can be a bit surprising. So this is something I looked into when it comes to Germany. Just after the German police, soon after the German police announced what happened in Cologne during Sylvester. And I checked for such queries as self-defense, gun, pepper spray, and license for weapons. And the ones that rose a lot in January, just after the police announced what happened, was the pepper spray and license for weapons. I looked deeper into that data, and actually the most often Googled queries were buying pepper spray and a license for small weapons. So it's just the search engine and just search queries, but can already tell you a lot about how safe the German people were feeling. So you can build a story upon this. Now, one more example when we're talking about international events and how people react to events, and this will also show you how people consume the media and how the media consumption is changing. This is what we prepared on how the word searched for the Paris attacks, the November ones. And the idea was to check what kind of questions people were asking Google about the attacks. But we also looked into data when the first queries about Paris attack started happening. So the Paris attack took place, there is a wrong number, they started actually at 9:16. And already 2 minutes afterwards, people in France, in Paris, the first searches started taking place. So most probably somebody was there at the stadium, there was this game Germany versus France, and somebody started searching on what's happening. And in Berlin, it was just 1 minute after Paris, but somebody started searching for Paris attacks. So most probably maybe somebody from the family called or messaged and people started looking for it. And London was just 10 minutes after the events in Paris. So you can see that the need for people to know more is huge. And this is the great challenge probably most of you are facing nowadays, how to be good, how to be reliable, but also how to be fast. And this fast factor also, even with the searches, is showing that it's becoming bigger and bigger issue. Last but not least, you can see the global perspective when you look into the data from Google. So this is what my colleagues called a graph that shows that global events are really global. So after the Nepal earthquake, they checked on how people were searching for helping Nepal. But I would not call it global. I would say that if you look into the GIF and the areas it shows just part of the world being interested in searching in helping Nepal. And this one slide also proves it even better. This one is called 8 Days in March, and we looked into terrorist attacks that took place in March all around the world. And there were 4 attacks. So why did we call the graph 8 days? Well, it's simply because sometimes it took so much time before anybody started searching for those terrorist attacks that it grew up to 8 hours. So for example, if it was Brussels attack, so Brussels started searching for it immediately. If it was Istanbul, it didn't take more than 2 hours for first queries to happen. But if it was, for example, Iskandaria or Lahore, it sometimes even took 18 hours before the first person started searching online for what happened in there. So as you can see, global events are global, but there is also this huge divide between the Eastern and Western world. And you might say that actually everything I'm saying is nothing new. You can expect that more people in France are searching for divorces, more people are searching for terrorist attacks in Europe than in Asian countries. But the truth is, it's only suspicions. You always need data to support your stories. And sometimes Google and Google search data is the place you can come to and find that information. So this is the website you can go to, google.com trends, and search for how people are searching things in your respective countries or all around the world. And I personally worked as a journalist for 16 years, so my Google experience is like just 10% of my professional life. And although I never worked with data, and I usually worked on crime stories or social issues, even with this simple tool, I can see additional data that I can provide to my stories and make them more powerful. I'm just talking about this search browser because I work for Google, but you can find that kind of data in any other place. You can see also how people search on Wikipedia. There is data about it, which queries are most popular. You can look into, I don't know, dictionaries or like encyclopedias in the respective countries and see what kind of queries are trending. And that is data that is free and that is available for all of you and actually can build you a better view of the world. So here's our Google Twitter handle, so please follow. And just, again, if you say, who cares about that kind of queries? So if you don't care about supporting your stories with that kind of data, that's fine. But at the same time, what's Googled is what actually is expected by the readers in a way to be involved in the stories. If people are searching for something extensively, that might mean that they miss some kind of information. So maybe think about it also that way, that to make your articles more readable, make your articles more up to what the people expect you to do, it makes sense to go to that kind of tools and support your stories with it. And that would be all, more or less, for me. Just to end up like positively, one of the most popular questions all around the oh no, I thought it would be positive, but now I thought it's very depressing. I wanted to say, but actually one of the most popular questions all around the world, no matter what language, is what is love? And I think it's depressive, yeah. Thank you very much.